come intercourse in really frequently, maybe once or twice a week.
There were times in my mind when I couldn't wait for her to mature more, to be ready for intercourse. But at the same time, I refrained, thinking at the same time that was, it just can't go that far. I can stop it before then. And I couldn't.
Del is 48 and a successful engineer. He sexually molested his daughter Eva from age 7 to 21, and his younger daughter Bonnie from age 9 to 14. Like so many families in which incest occurs, they appeared normal from the outside.
My dad was an usher at church. Mom was part of the PTA. It was really important to look good to everyone else because it looked so bad from the inside.
I really don't know when a sexual attraction started. I know that teaching her to swim as a young girl, touching and feeling in a way that she didn't know what was going on yet. Once I realized that Eva would allow me to do certain things, then I could push her to do more because her whole goal in life was to make Dad happy. I don't ever recall thinking of her as a child. In my mind, she was more an adult.
I was isolated from my brother and sister. I felt really alone. So when somebody gave me attention, that is my dad, it was sort of attention that I needed and was missing. But also, he had planned it that way. He planned for me to be needing that and missing that. He usually started out asking if we could go out for a date, ice cream, movie, or something. And I always knew what that meant. If it was or something, I was in trouble. Then he usually would want me to be in a skirt, change clothes into something that was easily accessible to him, which made me really feel sick because I felt like a slut. I felt like I was making myself open for something that I didn't enjoy.
Part of the grooming is to indicate that, you can't tell anybody about this because they'll come in and break up the family. And to a child, that's their world. So you don't need force to put them into a fear mode that's greater than you can imagine.
Incest is the whole family's problem. Like many mothers of sexual abuse victims, Del's wife, Anne, was herself molested as a child. Since she couldn't bear to face the pain of her own abuse, she shut out the signs of her daughter's suffering.
I felt somewhere in the pit of my stomach that something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. I ignored all the clues and the symptoms and the feelings and thought there was something wrong with me, that I would even think something like that.
The signs that she was not getting was the fact that I was a very sad kid. If this was such a great family, why was I so sad? Why couldn't I look people in the eye?
How you doing?
And why did I walk funny?
We have a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
By the time I reached an age where I knew it was wrong, it was so bred in me. It was
behind us.
It was kept. I wasn't to London. I was still 7 or 8.
It wasn't until Eva was a young adult and had spent time away from her family that she was finally able to break 13 years of silence.
I took my sister out for coffee. I go, okay. Do you know what it means?
But I kind of wasted my time this semester because
she went, Eva, I know. I'm being molested too. At that point, I was furious. It wasn't for myself that I could stop it. It was for somebody else.
I don't know how to be sure.
We decided to wait until the next morning to say anything to my mom.
And I said, we can't stay in the same house for another hour. We just can't. I opened the safe. We own a gun. I took the bullets, the clip from the gun, because I didn't know what Del would do. When he found out that we were gone, I thought he might try to kill himself.
And I just remembered her saying to my dad, we know what you've done. Damn you. And I can't believe that she ever, would come to our rescue like that.
It was like 500 pounds of cement was lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I was going to collapse, but I sat down and I said, thank God it's over. Now what do we do?
Dell pleaded guilty to sexual abuse charges and served 1 year in jail. During 3 years of separation from his family, he has undergone intensive therapy to help him recover from his abusive behavior and to uncover its roots. Dell's history revealed severe emotional cruelty at the hands of his stepfather, and like 70% of all men who molest children, Dell himself had been sexually abused by a neighbor when he was 6.
I came from a very strict religious family that didn't even say words like sex. There was just no way I could communicate that this 20-year-old boy next door did something to me out in the barnyard. So in order to make sure that nothing like that ever happened again, I had to be in control of my life and everybody around me forever. For years, Eva pretty well lived under my command. One of the things that I feel very strongly about as part of the recovery process for me
You need above a 2.5
is to gain trust again with my daughter somehow.
So she was not able to take her blood, but
Do I think my dad's really in recovery?
she was able to take.
I reserve that.
Do you guys remember the name of the person that came into your class and
Strangers were calling. Did I have to
Exactly what she
say
did.
goodbye? I don't know.
Hey, Dan, can you open up
Seemed
my
like to me.
After 3 years of no contact with her father, Eva made the courageous decision to confront him for the first time about the scars he's left on her life.
I'd like him to know how much he's hurt me, how much he's hurt every other person in this world that I love. The damage that was done was to my self-respect, to my ability to have other people around me that love me. I don't let them. I always want to know what they want in return.
This
This meeting was really kind of like a last chance. What if all she sees is the same old dad? Well, I've said I'm sorry several times, but that's really,
sent you that.
I wish I could say it in a way that she'd believe it and know it.
What
You
do
feel
you
bad about
want to be? Do you know what you want from me? And if we ever meet again, and we still
So it won't let you take it because you haven't done HBSC 2 yet. That's pretty cool. So this will be the next one is the CRM.
It seems like it's been a lot longer than 3 years. I have
What's
a
her name?
ton of apologies. I mean, I don't
With that
know what you want to hear.
I don't think that I want apologies. I think I just want some understanding, maybe some rationality.
There's nothing rational about what I did.
2 or 5?
You were the first person in my life that I knew loved me. Before that, in my own mind, I was really unlovable.
Right here.
No, I feel
This is
that
straight
way.
from the dean.
I'm sure.
You ever heard of this?
That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and molest my kids.
No, most likely, unless you get a lot of counseling, you'll go out and
Have you heard
end
of
up
CLEP
marrying
courses?
a molester.
I know we have a lot of work
You
to do.
help
We're
him
not
out a
going to
lot.
finish it today.
Was your
And it's not going to be suddenly, going and having picnics together all the time. It's not going to be like that.
I don't want to
Can I just
draw a picture of what family life ought to be and expect everybody to jump into it. I just don't want to be out of the picture.
You're really lucky that you're still part of the
maybe it'll come
picture.
up on her computer. If you want to take a CLEP course, I don't even I don't even.
This wasn't going to work out easy.
Apparently Sierra did. And she's just like me, we're like
I see you
afraid to
being
do it
very
until like
vulnerable.
she's doing it right now. She
And
wants to
my first reaction would be to want to take care of you.
graduate.
Make sure you
Somebody
didn't
already
hurt.
know. Okay.
And
So
that's
you
exactly
can
what
say,
I've done
here
in my
you go, you
life.
see Eddie in here.
And I don't want to do that.
Well, We've all done our roles and taken care of each other in the areas that we learn how to do.
Well, I don't like the one I learned.
It's difficult to understand how you can
Thinking
love
of
someone
Nathan's
so
fingers
much
in
and
it?
do so much damage to them.
Maybe I have.
My daughters had something taken away from them, and it was me that took it away.
I would say to anybody else who's like my dad, who wants to do the things my dad did, I know you have
But you
problems.
could.
Don't take it out on your kids because it's not their fault.
And that's what I was gonna say. If you took,
You know, don't create this hell that you
that's
live
the
in for
credit
them
right
too.
there.
If you take it and pass it.
If you or someone you know is involved in a child abuse situation, please call this tip.
You can take a minute. No, that's not. For
Does
credit.
that answer any of your questions?
The only 4 credit courses on here are the foreign language.
So you either take 2 or 1 Spanish course. Do you have all your required done? You just need 4 elective credits. So you want to be sure of that too. That's the other thing you want to be, which is hard to be sure of because we're not sure of anything in life nowadays. But you can take 2
But
3s.
like, so which one are classes 12 credit hours?
Oh, field
The placement.
and field seminar makes it 15. And you have to take 1 online.
So even with those being like that, would I still be 4 short?
It sounds like it because you have 69.
Because you have to take that with seminar, which is 15 credits, and it's hard to take that when we doing our internship from 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday.
So he could take an online course. Let's do simple
Yeah,
math. You have
we could do
69 at the end of the semester, plus 11 over the summer. Do we get you into 11?
Mhm.
That's crazy. Plus 18 plus 18. Is that what you're going to try to do?
Mhm.
And you want to make sure you have all the courses and 120 hours, and then you graduate. So you took 1 Spanish class and could pass it. Have you ever taken Spanish anywhere? Or did you pass it there? So did you bring those credits with you? Oh, so
It's different.
well, I was
It is
going to
not
say,
right.
is it on? Well, here, we got your transcript right here. Do you have Spanish? It's not. Well, then you could take it. You could take Spanish right here. And if you pass it, what's that? You ever heard of CLEP? I didn't until she ran into this, and I thought for sure they'd be like, hell no, you're taking 2 summer courses.
Is that what's this over the summer?
This is whenever the hell you want it to be.
Yeah, so I would need it to be,
ASAP.
yeah.
Because you could take it and not pass it.
I wonder, can I do it over the summer?
I think you can do it whenever the hell you want.
Because I'd rather do Spanish over the summer. Just I'll be afraid that I'm gonna fail it.
Because it would be Spanish or French. And you know, Monet's taking French right now, ain't she? I think she is. No, Desiree. Desiree.
Is anybody online yet? Oh, imagine that. Ooh, buddy.
So who I'll have to talk to, the dean, to get that approved?
It sounds like Central already has this built into the curriculum. Because that list is from the dean, the way she wrote it. Here's the CLEP courses and the score you would need to each earn credit. So here's CLEP right here. It's probably, well, yeah, it's this. So you go, let me send you that website too.
I can look it up. Because I got the email.
Okay. And then, yeah, here's the exam. And what's crazy to me is it only costs $9.
That's not bad.
What you laughing about?
Because of my name face. When he heard cost.
It only costs $90.
Financial ways can't cover that.
If you're able to save like your leftover money.
My mom's gonna pay for
Yeah,
it.
you would have to ask them, because even for the summer course, you would have to ask financial aid, like, hey, can y'all
Save
set
me some money.
aside, yeah, set aside some money for me to take these
Right.
courses so you don't have to pay for it out of pocket.
Right. How do I get them mastic chips out of my peanut butter?
I gotta go to class.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that insane or what?
It's definitely insane, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Ask Sierra if she's done it yet.
It's only 4 credit hours. It's not like I'm short 20.
Yeah.
I know, but it's still stressful, man.
Yeah.
Because you're maxing out your whole damn year. You're doing
Because
38, 11. He's doing 50 in 1 year.
But even if he
even if he isn't able to get those 4 credits, can't he like take a summer course and just ask to walk in the fall?
He's
I mean, in
already
the spring?
maxed, and I've been asked that question a million times, and for whatever reason, the answer at Central State is no.
Like he wouldn't be able to walk if he took a course.
They are adamant about it, maybe because somebody in the past freaking did that and never passed it and never got the degree. They've already thrown their hat in the air. So they make you do it all ahead.
We go for, I'm gonna figure something out.
Yeah,
You're a year
I'm gonna
early.
walk on time.
This is good. You're a year early, but you got to get those 4 credits. You can talk with the dean too. You know Amy Hobbs? You just walk in. She's on the main
Yeah,
floor.
she's on the first floor.
She's very nice. Say, I was going to take a CLEP, but they accept them. It says it on Central State's website. Here's a list of what we
Because
accept.
I'd rather drop one of my classes that I have now, probably criminology. I'd rather drop that than and take the class this summer. Because that's only, I'll be afraid of that.
Oh, you want to do more CLEP courses? You're saying.
No, I'm saying like I'd rather do that this summer and then something else that I have this like that I'm already registered for in the summer. I'd rather just take that during the semester.
But you need every single hour that you're talking
Right.
about right now.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna add that to my semester.
Oh, the cool part is these don't count against your overload. That's why she did it. She could
Oh.
not take overload. If you get 4 hours, it's like you took it as a high school senior and brought it in
Yeah,
with you.
like it's dual enrollment.
It is dual enrollment.
Mhm.
So you don't get
Yeah.
busted for over. It's still going to be a lot of hard work, and the reason they don't let you
How
do
long
it,
are those courses?
I literally have never heard of it in my life. That answer came up because Sierra and I went to every dean and provost and president on campus and asked, and then we found this for her. That's the only reason we found it.
Okay.
I don't even know if they were just being nice to her for the one-time exception, but if you look on Central's website, it says they'll take all these hours, which is crazy. If it's $90 for 3 credit hours, I'd be taking as many of those as I could. How much is a class at Central? Like 1,000?
But I wonder, are they in person or online?
I feel like it's all online. You get a study guide, you have to study it, and you come somewhere here on campus and take the test.
Take
and
a
have to
test,
pass.
yeah.
It's like big pressure. I would freak out, but I know you're probably way smarter than I am. You would do awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to class.
All right.
Mr. Trout, guess what?
What?
My 2 term A classes are finished. I got an A. I'm at 92 credits from
Holy-
officially a senior. Half
So,
a semester
really?
early. Yes.
Holy. So wait, you both are now, right?
Huh?
You both graduate next year.
Yeah, I'm not a senior right now, but after this semester.
Right. Holy crap. Okay. I can't keep this is like when the most stressful of all situations come to you in
Yeah.
every shape and form and hazard with students. And I also have, immediate work at the private practice, like right after this. But I want all of you all registered, and I feel like a lot of you are.
I'm not, I'm seeing Mr. Keita.
Okay. Cool.
Mr. Trout, is that what you about?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna stay over here.
Is that weird? Are you allergic? I'm sorry, I should have asked that. Well, I didn't think about that.
It's not extremely like.
Right. I have food in my fridge, but I was registering people all freaking morning. I'm gonna have to bring the food in my fridge, and I have at the private practice, this is what always happens: a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and I'm not out till 8. And I have a Zoom meeting at 8 on my drive home. And I'm not. So I was like, oh, peanut butter, and I found chips. And I was dipping these in the peanut butter.
I love those chips. Me and my boyfriend love those.
That's what my
They're
wife
so
was
good.
saying.
They're
And so I put them in our little free box out there. If you want some, go get them right now at Social Work. But it's a different flavor. This was the last of this flavor. Which
Is it
flavor do you
matcha?
like? This one is called sweet and salty kettle corn.
It's the one that's there.
Probably.
Probably.
Go get them.
I never tried.
Go get them.
Where?
The social work
The
group.
social work office, where Ms. Nikita's office is.
Before they're all gone, you about to get over there, they're all going to be gone. So I just put them in the bowl. Ooh.
Okay, so so for advanced standing, would I have to go right after, like, I get my BSW?
Within 5 years.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
But-
I was gonna think,
Because you wanted to take those gap years and like,
yeah.
okay.
But then it's also like, well, I don't know, because I don't know when I'm gonna take my license or whether I'm gonna take it here and then try to get it transferred to Texas, or if I'm just gonna take it when I get to Texas, or if I'm gonna take it in Wisconsin and then see if I can get it transferred. But I do want to get my life. I want to focus on getting my license first. I do want to take like at least a gap year.
You can get your license by this time next year. If you wanted to. The reason I say go all the way straight through is I know myself, I would drop out of school before I ever finished.
Yeah.
I know that sounds terrible, but that's why I'm like, just do it.
And I
However
feel
you
like
can.
I think I have the self-discipline to like
To
you
come
know, go
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think
I
I'm
will.
gonna look at Northern Kentucky
Uh-huh.
to see if they got the trauma one that I'm looking for, so I can work at the VA.
They do.
So
Also, University of Kentucky is completely online where Nikita
Yeah.
goes. Did you know that?
and it looks very affordable
It is.
because I think you pay by the course, and if I
Mhm.
get some financial aid, then that shouldn't be hard.
Mm-hmm. So that's the, does this show us what we recently opened? Oh, you wanted trauma. Trauma was what you wanted as a focus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I don't know why I can't find mine. Would it tell you which one you most recently had open in Dropbox? Because we opened it like the other day.
Was it? It was the ACES one.
Oh, maybe that's what I should be searching.
I used to go to the like in Chicago, we have like this thing called Nova School,
Yeah.
and I used to go to Mushin. It was on State Street. It's like a private / public school. It's a charter. Yeah, I went to
Okay.
charter school.
Okay.
And then, like it was like you could get detention if you brought like candy or pop in you.
Really?
Or anything like that. So in the vending machines there had these and doing detention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are smaller bags than they used to be. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Like everything's all lightweight. It's annoying. So
I know. I used to eat these most often.
yeah, I know that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this bag's like water.
Do you believe at some point you guys will have this much research saved in your Dropbox and
I
computer?
hope
that-
not. I really
And then
hope
you
not.
can't even find it. That's the worst part about it. I'm like, where is the PowerPoint? His problem is I probably have these computers flip-flops. And we were running off of this computer the other day. I got an idea though. This is, see, I'm really bad at that too. Like some people are really good at organizing their titles. I am not. I have dyslexia to begin with. So like I rely on, it'll work like this though. Watch.
I'm like right now starting to like name my stuff.
Organize it. You have to. That's a good way to go. So if you learn that early, which I never did, I don't know what else to say. Hey, they want to give me money. Look at that. 10 grand? You think it's worth it? I bet they're fleecing people. So we were, here it is. We were in this one. Oh, trauma presentation. See? Ah, so much better. So when we were going through trauma, you guys see how complicated it is in the first place, right?
What, trauma?
Yes. And then how complicated it is to look at different trauma situations, how to do the evidence-based treatment, how to run a group with trauma. I know what it's called now too. It's called Children of Trauma.
I have a question.
Yes,
Well, not just for you, just for local.
for all of us.
Do y'all believe in karma?
Believe in what?
Karma?
Yeah. I feel like every religion has some form of it.
do karma to y'all?
Like even in the Catholic Church, they got purgatory. Like if you're all messed up, you get stuck in purgatory for the rest of your life. Like,
I feel like God don't play about me.
right.
I feel like every time something like somebody do me super bogus or wrong or something like that, they gotta just
Yes.
stop.
Uh-huh.
I was just asking if y'all believe in karma. Because I feel like some people really don't believe in like
Well, they're afraid it's not in the Christian religion, maybe. Like, you can't do karma, that's only in Buddhism and Hinduism. It's like, no, Catholic and Christians have their own form of karma. It's like, you never would want to say that because, like, in the Bible, they say eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is Old Testament. But this is who I got certified through for my trauma-informed care, TLC. It was starr.org, star.org. So I'm a certified level 1 trauma practitioner. I do like how they reframe it. It's not, you don't ever want to ask somebody what happened to you, or I'm sorry, you do want to ask what happened to you, not what's wrong with you. Like I'll say that to my kids all the time. They're like, what's wrong with you? And that's not how we start out a group session in trauma is like, what's wrong with you? Is then the kid, like, I'll take it personally, they'll take it personally. You let them explain what happened. That's the whole point. Is like they get a chance to explain their version. As we talked about how when you're traumatized, your brain disconnects from your body. You forget shit. You can't explain it. So you say, what is your version of what happened to you? Not what's in the police report, not what's in like the online. Yeah.
And my one class, Martin did too.
Mm-hmm.
The lady, she was like talking about PTSD, and she was saying like PTSD isn't only because you just came from like the army or like Afghanistan or something like that. It can mean like car accidents. It can mean anything. So
Because they used to make us diagnose, were you in the military? Do you have shell shock? Are you from the Vietnam War and have PTSD? In the 2000s, they allowed us to diagnose kids with trauma. Anybody with trauma.
yeah.
Who's your morning class?
Miss Nikia.
Did she have somebody come in like Dr. Hunt?
She have a bunch of different. She calls it social work story time. So
I saw that lady speaker on her. She was
Yeah.
walking down the steps with her computer on like
Mhm.
this.
some of her colleagues that she met like at the different jobs. She
Okay.
met, or people that she connected with.
Mhm.
And from all over too.
Mhm.
Right.
The
Okay.
lady today was from Texas.
Oh,
Her best friend is from
is that her
Yeah.
sister?
I don't think so.
Her
She
cousin?
said- I don't.
I don't know.
She's a psychology doctor and teaches in Texas and published a bunch of articles and it could be. Right, I know.
She said she works at a dialysis center.
Oh,
Her name is Amelia or something.
okay.
I waiting on her best friend to come. Her best friend from Chicago.
Okay.
But she did have she said she had a bachelor's in psych, and then she got her MSW in social work, and now she's working on her doctorate.
Okay, it could be a coworker. What do you guys think the one word that best describes grief and the one word that best describes trauma?
One word that describes grief.
Like, what's the difference between grief, trauma? Grief and trauma. And I ask all these questions because it's supposed to help you learn it. That's why we do this in the
I
training.
feel like grief is like a process that you go through. Now, I don't want to say like by yourself, but I feel like grief, there's different stages of grief, like everybody knows. So I feel like I don't think that grief necessarily needs a lot of intervention. And I feel like, not that it can be easy to manage, but I think it's easier to manage than trauma. It's like, I feel like trauma can leave you like stuck, not knowing, so you will need more guidance when it comes to trauma versus grief.
Because I think grief, like, the process of what you got going on, and then I think of trauma as the result of what you went through.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
just trauma past tense
Mm-hmm.
and grief present.
Yes. And they give us these two. So this is how they break it down. They say grief can be general reaction to sadness. Whereas trauma is like terror. You're like terrified. You're like, crap. Grief is they stand alone. Trauma does include grief reactions. That's the one I was looking for. Like trauma, you can have grief because you had a traumatic event where you lost a loved one. Known to the public and professionals, grief is definitely there. Trauma is still largely unknown. So they're still doing research on, especially children, trauma. There's still so much. There is one on that PowerPoint the other day that I was going to open up for you. And it was so interesting, but I feel like we skipped real quick. It was like the first few, was it this one? That I had like a trauma PowerPoint video. Maybe it was this one. Let's see.
Do you think it's possible to have trauma without grief, or to have grief without trauma?
Does not disfigure your identity. Trauma attacks and distorts your identity. Grief regret to say, I wish I would have. And trauma, the guilt says it was my fault. Like if I had been home, that wouldn't have happened to Junior. Or if that was. And then in grief, pain is related to the loss. And trauma, pain is related to tremendous terror and sense of powerlessness, fear, and loss of safety. In grief, anger is not destructive, but in trauma, anger is assaultive, even if nonviolent. So none of those really answered your question, I feel like. I feel like they do run hand in hand, so that's why it's so tricky to separate them. But trauma is like that specific event. Oh, it's only 3 minutes, so are we going to fall asleep listening to this guy? I think he explains it well, too. I hope he answers.
In trauma, we have to keep in mind that the body has a memory. And so it's just not enough to work with those emotions. You have to engage the body in activities that allow it to release, all right, what has been a sensation of not being able to escape the terror that has been presented to me. You know, that the body hasn't been able to complete the motion that it would normally complete in order to survive, is one way of putting it. But the body does have a memory. And it's going to be very important that we engage youngsters in those activities that allow for the body release of all that stress, as well as the, changing the experiences for that youngster. Trauma also alters the way that we look at ourselves, the way that we look at everyone around us. As soon as flights resumed after 9/11, I was on a flight out to Texas. So it was about a 3-hour flight, 3.5-hour flight. And halfway through the flight, I needed to use the restroom. So I get up and I'm walking down, the aisle of the plane to the back of the plane. And I get about halfway down the aisle, and that's when I get a little nervous because that's when I actually realized what I was observing. And what I was observing was, first of all, nobody was sleeping. Many of you fly, some people hit that seat and they go, their eyes are shut right away. No one had their face in their laptop or their DVD, or no one was reading a book. They were all looking at me with these big eyes. So they were actually following me down the aisle. And my immediate response was, oh, geez, somebody's going to overreact and think I'm going to do this terrorist thing and, take me down or something. I mean, if you recall, you can go back there just for a moment. We were all a little aroused.
I forget you guys
that
remember
If you remember going to the mall, maybe you didn't even go to the mall for a couple of days if you're a mall person, Or when you did, you got out of your car a lot differently. I mean, even though you were safe and even though you were, hundreds of miles away from New York or thousands of miles away, you navigated your environment a little bit differently the first couple of weeks because your sensory system was aroused, right? You were really, more alert to your environment and the possibilities of danger. And so it really can change how we look at ourselves, how we look at others around us. And of course, kids who are in environments that are continually, unsafe, of course, that arousal, is really sustained at a high level. And so they're constantly on alert for the next bad thing to happen. It also alters the way that we think.
So he's kind of digging into the stuff where it talks about
or the realize that sometimes
trauma really does like rearrange who we trust, how we look at people, what we think about people. Oh, of course, that was not found. So, are you able to ask your question again?
The question of, can you have trauma without grief? Can you have grief without trauma?
I bet you could have trauma without grief, and it might be because your body is forcing it away. Like you had a trauma, you just keep pushing through, you're almost in denial. Yeah. And you just like go right through it and like everything's fine. Now eventually might hit you when you stop staying busy after your loved one dies. A lot of people are like, well, don't just stay busy, you gotta like experience it. I don't know if that's a perfect answer to your question, but
I mean, it is, because the way I think of it, like, I feel like if you fully grieve mentally and stuff like that, then maybe trauma won't be there. But I mean, I feel like even if you grieve the right way, I feel like some sort of trauma will be there just because you went through something traumatic. But
right.
Like, I don't know.
That dude teaches a fast class, whoever it is.
She ain't talking about shit.
So you just left.
No, she let us know. I was paying attention no way.
We're only a 10th through this PowerPoint, but trauma is any experience that leaves a person feeling hopeless, helpless, fearing for their life or survival, their safety. This experience could be real or perceived. Another weird example, let me see if I can open this on here and then it pops up over here. This is my other example. Oh, it does let me.
Okay.
Yes. Please tell us.
I don't care that I'm getting all my FDIC money back. I want it.
So something happened on Friday that a bank collapsed. And there's a lot of people freaking out on the internet, and it may be real or perceived. They think that there's a bank run. People are like, get all your money out of the bank. There's going to be no banking. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going to be a Great Depression. So, especially somebody who lived through the great financial crisis. And whether it's real or perceived, they are terrified of a banking crash because it's this Silicon Valley deposits crashed with $200 billion of assets. So the government's going to insure their money, but people are also fearful that it'll like take off in a bank run and whatnot. So that's like my example for real or perceived trauma. Or real or perceived, I'm not going to graduate on time.
Why are you looking?
Because I empathize. I finished undergraduate the first day of my 6th year of college. So I took 5 years and 11 months and 29 days. But then the next day I got into graduate school. But it was like 2 years late. You know what I mean? Like I started in 96. I graduated in 2001 in August. I went right into the University of Kentucky Master of Social Work program. Not really prepared again, just like an undergrad. I didn't do college prep classes. But real or perceived, yeah, it felt real to me. So I'm just trying to make eye contact with everybody. I'm not pointing it out. But it sucks. I was like, dude, now Xavier did let me walk with the class. Did I ever tell you guys that? That's why like there's this rumor that you can walk with the class even if you had. At Xavier University, if you had 6 hours short of your major and you took it in the summer or fall, they'd let you walk with your class. I wish Central would do that.
I think I have an idea.
Okay.
I think community college is back at home.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Some people
Gonna
would,
get stressed out campers
right,
here, especially spending. That's the only reason why I'm scared.
right. I hear you. I get it. Oh yeah, perception is reality in trauma too. So like if I'm scared I'm not going to graduate, or I'm scared I'm not, and this happens all the time with like life, jobs, circumstances, relationships, everything you deal with in life. Like what do you guys see here? When you look at this, what's the picture that you see? You
Somebody
can-
playing the saxophone.
That's what I saw.
Or a banana, someone with a banana head.
Yes.
I see his face.
I know, the woman's face. Isn't it weird when you can like
Oh, I see that too.
you see that? Which one do you see first?
I'm lying.
I know, but which what do you see in that picture? It's I think it's up there. The first thing you see that comes to mind. It doesn't say if you're like crazy or not. But it's
I don't know. I'm not.
like right here. So yeah, the man with the saxophone has a nose going out to there, and then here's him. There's the saxophone. The silhouette of the woman, like there's her face in the sunshine, and then there's her face in the darkness.
That's his nose.
That big old nose right here.
Oh, that's a hat.
Oh, you're right. It could be a hat. Okay.
Like that's his head at the bottom.
Right.
And then that's the neck.
I can see that.
I mean, I see him in person.
Right. So I guess they're saying like we're all going to perceive things different. So that's why it's so important in group therapy when you're teaching people how to recover from trauma to be open to their answers, because there is no solid answer. For example, when it says ask the group their thoughts on a hot and sunny day. What do you think about a hot and sunny day?
Hot and sunny day. Just anything with like.
Yeah, like what's your opinion of a hot and sunny day?
I don't like when it's too hot though.
I know. I was going to say I am German Irish, and I feel like my ancestry still is like way up there in the north where it snows and it's cold all the time. So I sweat bullets all the time, and I hate a hot and sunny day. Other people love a hot and sunny day. They're like, oh, it's like you're on the beach, you're laying out, you're relaxing. And the point is, everyone's perception is different, but it's your current reality. Like, what do you think about a hot and sunny day? She doesn't have any opinion whatsoever. What do you think about a hot and sunny day?
A hot and sunny day. Hot, sticky. I'ma just, if I get some ice cream in my system, I'm cool. But like hot and sticky, I just can't do it. Like hot and cloudy, I can do it. But sunny, oh my god.
I don't even like hot and cloudy because it's like it's this little
Humid.
I need to be somewhere
Right.
with air conditioning.
What do you think about
Hot and sunny day.
Yes.
Time to have fun.
Right. Yes. This is the experience we do in the class. So you can see, like when I'm training people in trauma, and the directions are partner up with another person. Gosh, it's so small. I'm going to read it off the computer screen if I can. It says, partner up, sit back to back in chairs and pencils. One person is to draw a picture of anything. Keep it very simple. Next, the person who drew it must help their partner replicate the drawing by giving them directions. And it's funny when you do this in person, like an activity. This is like a group activity. Drawing, and they cannot name the objects. For example, you can't say draw the sun. They must say draw a circle in the upper right-hand corner and draw lines coming from it. And it's funny the stuff you see that it comes up with. And now switch roles, and each person does it again. What was hard for you? What was hard for giving directions? How do you describe? We assume teens can identify their feelings, not so easy. They don't always easily. We cannot assume what we are saying is interpreted. We must constantly check. Does that make sense? We don't know. It is like the person knows it until they are able to just tell us, but show us. So when you're running a trauma group therapy, Tiona saw a face. So be curious, ask questions, never assume you know, and never assume you know it like they know it. Remember that even though some images may resemble one another, there are no two exactly the same. A trauma to one may not be a trauma to another. Like, maybe in the past, I would like laugh how somebody like lost their cat and they're grieving it for like 3 days at a time. And then I run over my cat and I'm all sad for my cat for like 3 days at a time. So I didn't understand it until like it happened to me. So just kind of digging in, understanding trauma, exposure. I know this 100 pages of PowerPoints to understand. This is just day one of trauma-informed care.
So is this like one of the CEUs or?
It actually is. You would get
So-
CEUs if you
So when
went
you
through.
get your license and stuff and you have to do the CEUs, like, did somebody reach out to you and say like, hey, this CEU course is required?
They try to
this
sell it
month?
to you. Well, social work lists what you have to take. Yes. And then people will try to sell you their product. Or your agency offers it for free. Like we're going to try to offer one for free this summer, May 31st on supervision, June 1st on ethics. Because those are the two when you get an independent license. You always have to get supervision and you always have to get ethics. But anything else you could get. If it's trauma, you need 15 hours a year. Every 2 years they look at it. You need 30 hours every 2 years. And this is like, this I think was 6. Maybe even more. And learning how to run a trauma group. So then after I got this training, I had to run trauma groups. And it's scary because you're in charge. And there's no like dozing off, getting distracted by your phone, getting distracted by your computer. Even though you see me sometimes, like I'll see every time you get a text, it's like somebody's tapping you on the shoulder. Like, but it's definitely hard to keep that up, keep your focus, and keep teaching. Okay, so listening to the details of the trauma, therapists, media exposure, video games. So the media exposure trauma we all saw in 9/11. We all have that image running through our heads in September of 2001. That's all we saw. My dad called me. I remember exactly where I was, laying in bed and over the Rhine. I had no television. So I only had the radio and I listened to it and they're like, we're under attack by a terrorist and everybody's talking about it. And from there, I'm glad I didn't have a TV because that's all they played over and over and over again for the next 20 years. You guys probably still see the image of 9/11, September 11th. But that's, go ahead.
I was so obsessed with 9/11. Like when I first
Really?
learned about it in 4th grade, I still remember like I was shocked. Like I was like, "Are you serious? Like this really happened? Like in America?" Like I was shocked. And my mom, she works at the library, and like I asked her to give me a whole bunch of books. I read every book about 9/11.
Okay. It is kind of crazy
It was
that stuff.
crazy.
Did you reply all to Beyonce and all of them? You trying to ask him if you can take a clip?
No, I'm gonna. So I think I'm gonna take.
Community college,
Yeah, but I just need to know like what
if it
to
will
take.
count.
Yeah. Let me, like,
And make
And-
sure that the class that you're taking is transferable to Central. I
And
would
that it
go
all
to
shows
Lynchburg.
up right here, right?
I mean, yeah, I was going by that, but after the semesters, like I'm gonna be gonna take everything on that change.
So you have taken
Besides
everything.
Spanish.
Okay, as long as you've taken
I'm really trying
everything,
to
that's
avoid
why.
that.
That's why I'm saying, just make sure you have taken everything. Do you guys have to look at it anymore?
You see, great.
I got most of
You got my email to Beyonce?
You hit reply. all
Oh, so everyone's gonna get that.
of you. Yes. Probably even students.
That's embarrassing.
I feel like I heard of somebody else like taking Spanish at like somewhere else, like not here, and they got to transfer.
It did count.
I mean, I know the Spanish will transfer because I was gonna do it before, but I'm just really trying to
What other 4 credit hour classes are there? Is my
It's only the foreign language, that
Right.
or French.
And that's what I'm saying. That's where you might be best off, unless if you want to take 2 3-hour courses, you only have to take 1 4-hour course. 4 hours. College is stressful. Period. College is traumatic.
She wants to be a stripper. I gotta go.
Some people pay for college doing that, right? Chippendales.
Sugar daddy.
You got to keep that 6-pack.
I buy the. I gotta go.
Where are you going?
I know, right? He's like,
Where are you going?
he's like, I don't have to be here.
I'm going.
This is where they change PTSD. We'll go over it. Well, you lead your group Wednesday, so.
Yes, I can. Wait. Okay, I'm
So we'll go
trying
over
to-
it, but it changed. This is when it changed.
So for everybody is Wednesday? Or-
No,
She's leading
That's
her group.
that's what I.
She picked it.
the
You
day I
pick a
chose.
date.
So what's the next day after?
Friday
Friday.
or the
Or you
Monday
can do it
after.
after break.
Can I do it after break? 'Cause
Yeah.
I leave Thursday.
That's fine. But this is exactly what they were talking about. PTSD until 94, children were not included. And it took 20 years, but now children are included. You can diagnose a child with PTSD, not just a veteran. That's what you were talking about.
Does the DSM
Yup.
recognize that?
They didn't in 94,
Mm.
but now they do in 2014. Yep.
Can you grade my, what's the name? What is that called?
Your group observation?
Yes.
Yeah. You're worried about your